The date is 2026-06-12. This is the Executive Lens. The biggest story today is the administration's latest personnel move, with the White House sending a new nomination to the Senate while also withdrawing a prior one, a sign that confirmation strategy remains active across the executive branch. According to the White House document titled Nomination-and-Withdrawal sent to the Senate, the administration is formally adjusting its slate of nominees. The notice itself is brief, but the significance is procedural and political. Nominations are the mechanism that determines who can lead agencies, shape enforcement priorities, and carry out the president's agenda. When the White House withdraws one name and advances another, it can reflect a change in Senate math, a shift in internal priorities, or a response to scrutiny around a particular candidate. The practical impact depends on which post is involved, but the broader signal is clear. The administration is still actively managing the personnel pipeline rather than letting vacancies sit. That matters because leadership gaps can slow rulemaking, delay enforcement decisions, and leave agencies operating under acting officials. For the Senate, each nomination also becomes a test of how much bandwidth remains for confirmations as the administration continues to push policy changes through the executive branch.
On the government actions front, the White House also continues to move on two major policy fronts already announced this week. First, the proclamation titled Further Adjusting the Tariff Regimes for Imports of Aluminum, Steel, and Copper into the United States remains a live trade action, with implications for importers and manufacturers that rely on those metals. Second, the proclamation titled Realigning United States Core Childhood Vaccine Recommendations with Best Practices from Peer-Developed Countries continues to set up a major public health and regulatory debate as agencies and outside groups assess what the change means in practice. Here is the story most people missed. The White House's nomination and withdrawal notice may look routine, but these small personnel moves often matter more than they first appear. A single confirmed official can determine how quickly an agency implements a new rule, how aggressively it enforces existing law, and whether a policy survives the transition from announcement to execution. In other words, the personnel file is often the policy file.
What to watch today? First, whether the Senate schedules any hearing or floor action tied to the new nomination. Second, whether the White House or the relevant agency provides any explanation for the withdrawal. Third, whether agencies connected to the week's tariff and vaccine actions issue implementation guidance, since that will show how quickly the administration expects those changes to move from proclamation to practice. That is the Executive Lens for 2026-06-12. Sources in the episode notes. Back tomorrow.